All right, it's working. It's working. You may be saying to yourself, why are you celebrating the fact that it's working? Because I just tried to do this on another network and it was too congested and I had to switch. So, yeah. I'm glad I have a couple of different networks available because if one is too congested, the other one seems to be available. So, welcome in, everybody, whether you're live or watching the replay. I'm so glad that you are here. This is alive. And I've decided to start calling these our fireside chats because that's kind of how I think of it. You know, we're just kind of hanging out fireside. I don't think FDR will mind if I borrow his term. Those are pretty successful. They're big for him. So I'm hoping that they're big for us too. I just tease it. I just like to hang out with you guys. And I'm glad you could stop by in our super lo-fi, low resolution live show. Which if the internet's behaving and there aren't too many people online, then maybe actually watchable. You know, I don't have a whole lot planned other than answering questions, giving you guys an update on things that are going on, and just kind of checking in and hanging out, talking shop like I always like to. Marcus, hello from Nebraska. I'm glad you are here. How's the weather in Nebraska lately? It's, boy, here in the city beautiful Orlando, Florida, it is warm. Although today was cloudy and stormy, and we had rainstorms, and it's actually kind of a nice break from the, I wouldn't say dry heat. No, it's not dry heat. It's very moist heat, but from the consistent 90-degree days that we have had. Oh, it's warm. What does warm mean in Nebraska? Is warm in Nebraska like 77, which is kind of what it cools down to right now? It's 70 degrees with light rain as of the recording and broadcast of this. Heart like a sky. Hello from down under. Just finished another video. Came across this one. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. Marcus got the Glenn Miller for the very first time. 3 LP set. Nice. That's cool with the hype sticker. That's really, really cool. Yeah, I've got a couple copies of that. In fact, one of the first copy that I got was a French pressing. Let me try to fix this camera a little bit. It was actually a box. And then somebody, I think, gave me a binder version of it, which is really cool. But that's great. You'll like that. That's a great album. Andreas, Saturday was bad, sort of. Oh, I'm glad I could help in some small way. Praying that things improve for you, my friend. So glad that you're here. So glad that you're here. We're just put all that stuff aside. We all have, those days. Just hang in there. Hope it's nothing irreversible or too serious. But even if it is, trust in God. And I will try my best to just kind of, I'm going to try to distract from the stress. That's kind of what Record-ology is all about too. I made up a rule for myself a long time ago on the show that I wouldn't let real life get in the way of it. And what I meant by that is stressful things. This show was actually born out of an incredibly stressful time in my life personally. And it was sort of therapeutic for my own self, just in that it gave me something to do and get my mind off of the incredible stress I was dealing with at the time. And since then, every once in a rare while, I'll let a little bit of real life come in. Like when I had some stuff I was going through over the last couple of years, I mentioned it here and there. But for the most part, we're just here to talk about toys. It's 88. Wow. You're not far off of what we're at. Feels like 95. Wow. Picked up the RSD issue for Peggy Lee with the CD. That's awesome. Did you get it on Record Store Day or did you get it afterwards? I've been to a couple of record shops. I filmed, I think, one of those visits, and I haven't yet edited it into a short. And they've both had like Record Store Day issues. One of like leftovers. Store Day, like from previous years, like multiple previous years leftovers still, which was amazing. Oh, it was 2 years ago. I see. Did try the elliptical for the 3600. What did you think? I've got mine dismounted at the moment. It feels so insignificant, just like this little piece of plastic here. But I'm thinking about. I've been running the Sony automatic maybe the BX LX something 310. Sony automatic lately on my right hand side with the cork mat. Not a huge cork mat guy, but I'm kind of enjoying the cork. I have a thin cork mat on there. And it's got the 3600 stock with the conical. I may put the elliptical back on there. We did a show on that, obviously, recently. Over on my left-hand side, I've been running an interesting cart. This is the Technics SLB5 changer. And I've been running this vintage Audio Technica. Whoa, hello. Very low light in here. I've just got like a single frosted dome up there. No daylight left, so I can't do the close-ups. But yeah, this is a vintage Audio Technica. I forget what this is. Something with a 3 in it. But as you can see with the blue for Audio Technica vintage usually means conical. So I think that's a conical. I could be wrong, but that's working good. It's a pretty good sounding cartridge. And then up here, I've got a Sonotone running in the 49 Philco. Oh, good, Andreas. Well, hang in there, man. Old Radios, welcome in. 3600 cartridge hums awfully. What turntable do you have this on? Been listening to the Beatles One album and the White Album today. Awesome, Brett. Welcome in, my friend. Thank you for your support. If you're wondering why Brett is sporting such a cool little R next to his name, which is highlighted, because he is a member. You can be too. $1 a month, exclusive content, early access to some shows, little widgets and things that you can put in chats, and most of all, my sincere gratitude for support. And I just appreciate everybody being here. It was Etta James. Awesome. You know, I kind of had an Etta James moment this year. I was editing, and the way I came about it was weird. So I was editing a video. It was an anniversary video for my aunt. And she contacted me and she said, would you be interested in editing a video? Now, in a previous life, I come from a film and broadcast background and did a lot of editing. I still do a lot of edits. In fact, in parallel to this, I do editing and stuff. But anyway, she's like, do you want to edit a video? Send you all these pictures and things. And she had some songs she was interested in. And one of them was Etta James, At Last. Now, I'd heard this song before. But when I was editing this, I was like, dang, that's a good song. Started looking at some YouTube videos. I'm like, I forgot how much I like Etta James. And picked up a 20th Century Masters album of hers on CD. And it's really good stuff. So that's cool. That's really, really cool. Got a new computer today. I need to do that because my my Lenovo, I have a bad habit. It's funny because I've worked in IT for 25 years, and everybody's like, why can't you pick out a good? I'm not a build a computer kind of guy. My son's done that. I don't know enough to do that. I know enough to like know the specs that I want, but at least I think I do, but inevitably the computers that I buy are crap. Case in point. So I got this Lenovo, and it is a Core i3, but it's like a 10th or 11th gen i3. And as you know, the further, more progressive generation of chip you get, the faster it is. So like a 10th generation i3 is equivalent to like a 3rd generation i7 or something like that. Or so it seems on paper. And I had an i7 that screamed. It was a work computer, so too much editing or anything on it, but it had an i7, and this is back 2012, 2013, and this thing just screamed, man. It was processing footage so fast and so well. And my budget for this computer that I got 2021 only allowed for either a tiny laptop with a tiny screen that had an i5, or this big, beautiful aluminum Lenovo big screen, Dolby sound, not that that matters for what I'm doing with it, and an i3, but it was a 10th or 11th gen i3. So I'm like, looked it up and the specs were good, but what we're doing with computers now versus 2012, 2013 is a lot different. They need different processing power, right? So anyway, it sucks. It's always sucked. It's terrible. I've had to flash it back to its original factory mode 2 or 3 times. It can barely open your browser and read your email. I've got it to the point of editing, and then it can't even function anymore. It's kind of like your 386 when you would click on it and I'm going to go to the bathroom and go out to lunch, wait for this window to open, kind of a thing. So anyway, good luck. I hope yours is better. I'm sure it will be. Greetings from the Netherlands. So glad you guys are here all over the world. I appreciate it. Sorry for those watching the replay and frustrated they couldn't join the live either because the time was weird. They didn't get the notification. But I'm just glad that you're here and watching even the replay. I'm trying to make this show, the live shows, something that, kind of have a standalone thing. So if you want kind of a lower key, just hang out vibe, maybe you put this on while you're falling asleep, which would probably work really, really good for. Maybe you're putting it on while you're washing the dishes, while you're working, doing something. Kind of have it in the background. I do that with people that post like hour-and-a-half long videos and stuff. It's rare that I would have time to sit there and watch, like, glued to the screen, an hour-and-a-half long show. But for something like this, it may be nice while you're, doing something else. So it's just a low-key thing. If you have any questions, feel free to jump on here in the chat. If you have anything you want to tell me about, you're excited about, things you're looking for, if you want to chat with each other, if you're watching the replay, do the same thing in the comments. Treat it like a chat. Absolutely. For me today, didn't do much record stuff today, audio stuff. Did go to a bookstore just for the fun of it and ended up closing it out because I walked in 5 minutes before close. Besides that, yesterday we're doing kind of a renovation on our master closet. And so I was busy working on that stuff. So I'm missing record player stuff. But the good news is, here, and because you're in the live, you get the inside scoop, just like to a lesser degree, but similar to folks that are members, they get extra information that the people that would skip over this video are going to miss out on. So do you remember the Columbia GP3? It's made by Denon Columbia. They're really huge in Japan. Like this little plastic, portable, battery-operated record player. Wouldn't call it turntable. Record player. So a buddy and me went in on 2 of these, and he is working on doing a full service. I wouldn't call it a it's the same guy that did this. It's not a full like restoration because it doesn't need it. This unit was built in like 97. You'd look at this and be like, that's 70s. Because it really is like a 70s design. This GP3's been around, and they're super pop. They're super trendy over there. And there's this Anabas ones that are like upgraded with the stereo, Audio-Technica cartridges. But this is an OG one with the ceramic, and it's in the process of finishing as we speak. This weekend was its restoration, really a servicing more than any deep clean. So it's not perfect. It needs a new idler wheel. Hopefully the one that has will be good enough for its first show. But that should be shipping down here to Central Florida this week. And maybe, I would say you'll probably see it no later than next weekend on the show. And it's interesting. Yes, I know Tecmo has done a show on both the original GP3 and the Anubis, and he didn't like either one of them. However, other people swear by them. And I have been privy to some direct feed sound tests and some footage that leads me to believe that it may be way more capable than he let on or was able to realize with the one that he had. You only know the one you have. People can say, oh, this is great, whatever. But if it's not great for you, then it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So that's a little behind the scenes. That's coming down the pike here shortly. I like the idea of little plastic units, little plastic portable, especially vintage ones. And I have a bunch that I want to feature more on the show. Also, I've been working on some possible storage options, changing things up a bit. We obviously, anybody that reviews stuff like this has to have storage in some form or fashion, because what are you going to do with, double figures of hi-fi turntables and many more things than a normal sane person would need or even want? You have to have a way to put it. But if you don't have a lot of stuff, then it doesn't make for an interesting channel. So is it an excuse to hoard? No. It's all for education and entertainment. It's edutainment. This is an edutainment show. It always has been. Okay, let's get back to the comments. So much vinyl, so little time to listen to it. Isn't that the truth? Absolutely. Vinyl me, please. Yeah. Yeah, I only bought one record from them too. Was the Patsy Cline showcase that they did a couple years ago with the tricolor vinyl. Yeah, it's an interesting video. I saw that the one that I posted to you guys to check out, and it was interesting. I had learned that there was some friction over there, maybe, but it was really interesting. A cup of coffee will do it. Only lasted 10 months. Should have been under a warranty then if it was only 10 months old. But Lindsey Buckingham's Fleetwood Mac Solo 9 CD the other day. Quality is bad. You want to let you in on a little secret. Do you know how, and we're going to hear more of this probably than we had been because CDs are kind of, the revival of CDs has sort of been supercharged. I feel like over the last couple of months, maybe 2-3 months, you'll notice there's a lot more CD content out there now. I don't know what's behind that exactly. I know that the idea, records are expensive, CDs are cheap. People, I think, are realizing CDs have the potential for really good quality and availability. They're everywhere right now. It's a great market for buying CDs because you can go to a thrift store and you can still get them for $1 and or even better deals than that sometimes. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, but here's a secret. I've been a CD lover. I've loved CDs. I just bought a CD this week. Where did I put it though? Oh yeah, it's in the other room. I've been collecting these Bing Crosby World War II radio laser light discs, and I got the box. At first I got two loose discs. If you like old time radio stuff, check it out. Bing Crosby World War II radio and laser disc. I got two at a thrift store for like $1 each. And I'm like, I want more of it. I found out it was a 5-disc set. So I bought the 5-disc set for like $10 on eBay. And I'm like enjoying the fact that I own the complete set. And then I see that there's a special Christmas edition, which is issued separately. And that's what I picked up this past week. And it's good. It's good. I like it. But here's what I was going to say. I've been listening to CDs since 1991. And you hear people always say, oh, the mastering, the loudness wars and disc rot, and some CDs sound bad. And somebody here said that, so I'm absolutely not dissing or disregarding your opinion at all. But personally, for me, I've had one disc with disc rot, which is ironic because it wasn't here in Florida. You think, oh, the humidity, that's usually where those happen. But no, it's back in Denver. I'm assuming the disc was maybe somebody moved to Denver from Florida. No, this was in Denver. I was looking for a copy. Ever do this where you have a copy of something but you can't find it? So you're like, screw it, I'll just buy it if I see it at Goodwill or something. So I was looking for my soundtrack to Titanic, couldn't find it. You can go to, I guarantee you go to any, you'll probably find at least one, if not two copies of that. So I picked one up, brought it back, and sure enough, the darn thing had a little bit disc rot. I don't know if it caused any issues, but it's funny because I was just saying on the show, I kind of jinxed myself that I'd never had any disc rot discs in my entire life. I don't, on the verge of not believing it was a real thing because I've had thousands upon tens of thousands of CDs in my hands for 30 years, 35 years or whatever, and never had this happen until I got that one CD. And sure enough, that one disc has. And then thankfully, I found my original copy like 3 days. That's the other thing. If you buy a new one, you will find what you were looking for. It's Murphy's Law. But anyway, for the most part, I've never had disc rot. I've never run into a CD that I listen to and think it sounds bad, or that I think, oh, the mastering sucks, or this is a loudness wars kind of a thing. I've never had that happen. Now, I will be the first to admit the kind of CDs that I'm buying are probably different than most. So it's maybe not a loudness war situation. I'm looking down here because oftentimes I keep CDs down here. Wouldn't you know it, today's the day I don't. Yeah, I don't have any discs handy, do I? Yeah, I do. I have some CDs here. Remember when I told you that I made the mistake of throwing away my jewel cases in exchange for these stupid computer CD-ROM things? I thought, oh, this will be great. I'll save so much space. I so regret doing that. But I think the reason why I haven't experienced those bad things about CDs is because I wasn't buying Pink Floyd, I was buying Led Zeppelin. I did go through a Zeppelin phase. I wasn't buying a lot of popular albums from the 80s and 70s and that were rock and, pop forward that were probably more popular than what I was listening to. Because I'm guessing that just by the sheer number of, they were more popular, so there were more copies out there. The percentage of those things happening was higher for people that listen to that kind of stuff. But a lot of it has to do because I'm a nerd, and I've always been a nerd. I haven't always been a nerd. I'm not gonna say no. So let's go through some of my CDs from the 90s because that's what these are. This is why I couldn't hear. I never had an issue with loudness wars. I never had an issue with any of that stuff. So hooray for Hollywood. Double disc set. Yeah, this isn't going to have an issue with a loudness war type of situation because the music isn't going to be able to, approach even the full potential of the compact disc. Okay, here's another one here. We've got, this is an incredible soundtrack. This is the Crimson Tide Hans Zimmer soundtrack. Absolutely one of the absolute best scores ever written in the history of music. If you've not listened to this, please listen to that. R.I.P. Gene Hackman. We just the score to Chaplin. Remember this movie? This was a strange but good movie. Chaplin, John Barry soundtrack. The Mask soundtrack. My Fellow American soundtrack. This is the kind of stuff I listened to in the 90s. Check this out. Television's greatest hits. That was so cool. My dad raised me on this is a cool cover. This it's probably pretty collectible now. So you'll notice that thing looks like it's kind of weird. The Glory score. Remember the movie Glory, the Civil War drama? Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington. One of the best motion picture scores of all time. Here's a soundtrack album of Dick Tracy. That's Entertainment Volume 3. So yeah, those are the things that I was listening to. I remember one time I was in the lobby I was in the high school library, which is where I hung out probably too often. And I remember I was listening to, I think I was listening to That's Entertainment. I think that's what I was listening to. Either that or this Lena Horne CD I had. Still have it. That's a great CD too. And somebody comes by, high school kids, headphones off your head. What are you listening to? Listen to it for a second. It's like, you're listening to cartoon music. That's what he called it. It's like cartoon music. What are you listening to? So I've never had this issue with disc rot, and I've never had an issue with loudness, and I've always thought CDs sound great. And that is not to say I don't think records sound good. Now that I'm into vinyl, at first, and you'll go back and watch old videos on the channel, and I wouldn't say denounced, but I downplayed the significance of this supposed warmth, which is a distortion artifact of vinyl. Another imperfect media, like CDs and every other thing, is imperfect. But I now really feel like the sound staging and warmth of a vinyl record, especially one that was analog from start to finish, I can notice that. And I do appreciate that wider sound stage. I think people make too much of the fact that modern records are oftentimes sourced from digital audio files because they're so high quality, like a Sony DSD file or something that's used for that kind of stuff is so high resolution, it's going to capture any analog distortion elements that were included right along with the audio signal. And I think that, that's why, what was it? There was some company that kind of got busted for using digital files on their analog records, obviously analog records. And I don't think anybody knew until they knew. Why did they not know? Because they couldn't hear a difference because they were, it was, what do they call that effect when you take like the placebo? Sort of like they thought, well, it's analog, so I'm hearing analog. And then as soon as they find out it's actually digital sourced audio, they're like, oh yeah, I can tell. Now I can hear. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah. Okay. That is so weird about the, so it's a Technics DLS-23. If your cartridge is humming usually is a grounding issue. Do other cartridges work in there fine? Is it just that cartridge? That would be my next question. I'm going to look that one up. I don't know if I'm familiar with that. Technics DL-23. Oh, yeah. That's cool. Those are cool. Yeah, so that's got a removable head shell. That's, yeah. I would try another cartridge on there. Let me know what happens. M4. Dolby. Thomas Dolby. Ralph Reinhardt, welcome in. Far Northern California. Yeah, I was so, Andreas, I was so glad to see that video too. He's looking great. He's sounding great. And, oh, yeah, he's doing a great job. Yeah, he did lose a lot of weight. But he is, his voice is much better. And, man, that was, don't like seeing anybody going through stuff. It's 3:06 a.m. where you're at. I really wanted the Goofy movie 30th anniversary record despite my long break from record collecting. Self-imposed. I'm trying to slow down. I got no room for any more records, honestly. I'm gonna have to go through and purge in order to make room. I mean, I all my crates are full. There's some are a little too tight and they need to have some more breathing room. I don't have any open crate, and I don't want to bring in any more crates. I've got a couple things where I've got a stack of records leaning up against the outside of a crate. I got no business buying records. Will I buy more records? Absolutely. In fact, I just bought some this past week. Really good, like $2 a piece. I haven't got them yet, but they are just some things. I got the soundtrack to what is it called? The Great Escape. It was a Bing Crosby, Bob Hope record. I'll always have room for those. I don't even know what else, but yeah. Goofy movie one looked cool. Also, I like this new Kids on the Block one. They're going to come out with I think it's a 30th anniversary. Gosh, we're getting old. New Kids on the Block. I don't think that's dropped yet. Definitely need an i5 minimum if you're editing or live broadcasting, plus a decent graphics card. And see, I'm not even knowledgeable enough to be able to say, oh, that's a good graphics card or not. Biggest mistake was buying a Lenovo. IBM pretty much cater for office. Well, that's what I thought, because I've used Lenovo's and IBM's for years, and they've all been so rugged. And my wife, up until very recently, had a fantastic ex-corporate use laptop that we bought, and it was just so robust. It was built like a tank, and oftentimes corporate laptops are specced out to the absolute top tier, which this thing was. It just lasted and lasted and lasted. But what I bought was the post IBM Lenovo, very entry level. It's like a $300 laptop, so you get what you pay for, kind of a thing. But yeah, I think i5 minimum too, and that's what I should have gone with. That's what my wife was telling me. It's like, you should go with an i5. I'm like, but it's so pretty. I like the big screen. Yeah. A record fair today. Nice. That's cool. That sounds like fun. There's a record show here in Orlando that I haven't been to in too long. I need to go to it. How's the reel-to-reel doing? Oh my gosh, dude. Okay, so after I filmed the last video of the reel-to-reel, I was still having issues. So I went in there and I resoldered it. I flowed the solder and I added a little more. I got what looked visually like good contacts. Everything looked good. Put on the headphones. By the way, these Snowski retro headphones are really lightweight. I'm really liking them. They also make really good test headphones. Anyway, I put the headphones on. Sounded fine. It was a little flat and a little thin on one channel. The other one sounded superb, but it was good enough for now. So I was like, well, and it's weird because it's like kind of the opposite of what I was doing. The levels were good, and that was what I went in there trying to fix. So I'm like, you know what? Put it back together. I was so burnt. I'm so done with it. I haven't touched it since I got done with it. You ever do that? Like my OCD mind is like hyper fixated on something for a period of time. Then I burn it out and I have to move on to something else. And that's what happened with that. It's going to be a little bit of time before I can use that for multiple reasons. So from a technical standpoint, I get it back in here, wire it back up. It's all been put back together. And it was, a million pieces. I had the thing really torn apart. And now it's back to doing exactly what it did before I started. Somehow I'm putting it back together. It's doing the exact thing. So I am looking for another reel-to-reel. I've toyed with just getting it out of the format, sending the tapes that I have to a friend. I've got some great stuff. I'm nowhere near into it as deep as I am with vinyl or CDs. I have some very cool. I have a couple collectible things that I would just keep for collectability's sake. But I have probably 30 or 40 blank tapes that I picked up a few years ago at a flea market and paid like 15, 20 bucks for the whole box. And that's a gold mine now. Those tapes, can go for 10 to 30 bucks each. I was planning on using them for something at some point. It's probably more than I'll ever need for the rest of my life. But now I'm just kind of burnt on it. I don't know. It's doing what it was doing before. I basically have no audio on one channel. So that's really, really, it's, as you saw, it's clean as a whistle. It looks to be visually in such incredible condition, but I've learned that the Akais, even though they are Japanese, from a serviceability standpoint, really don't compete with the TX and other ones. So I'm bummed. I'm really bummed. Anybody who knows of a good deal on a reel, let me know. Yeah, good memories for sure. Oh, SACDs. See, that's something I've avoided too. There's a Patsy Cline Greatest Hits SACD. Actually has the same master tape was mixed for that as the 2016 Walmart edition, which sounds better than the Analog Productions 45 RPM master, but that's a separate topic that I've talked about ad nauseum. Yeah, I'm avoiding that. I don't think I have anything. Even my DVD players, Blu-ray players, I don't think are SACD compatible. But yeah, I've heard that's incredible. You actually own something real with CDs, says Ralph. Ralph, you've been busting me in the comments lately. What do you mean? What do you mean do anything real? What do you mean real? Why does CDs still sound better than streaming? Well, that's a good question. It depends on what's streaming too, because CDs are lossless compression, 16 bits, 44.1K sampling rate. But streaming used to be all lossy, but now it's lossless. Apple Music, even Spotify, I think, is doing lossless. They have the Dolby Atmos stuff that you can stream on Dolby. Really good. I don't know if I could hear a difference, but there's a lot that that goes into the CD player. The thing that nobody talks about is the code on a CD player. If you're listening to stream, codec you're using is built into your phone or built into your computer. But the CD players have different types of codecs. So an OG 80s compact disc player is going to have a 16-bit codec, which is a more primitive type of codec. Then you got your 90s era CD players are going to have a 1-bit codec, which uses noise shaping, and it's a more modern, although now also outdated technology. And those have different sound signatures. Those have different sound profiles. And there's other circuitry as well that manufacturers can add. And then CD players made after like 2001, 2002, they have these multi-bit DACs that are a little bit, what do they call them? Sigma, alpha, sigma DACs. So it's a different technology altogether. So there's a lot of different variables in the CD player. So, you know, kind of it depends on what you got to listen to. I'm loving my Nat King Cole Unforgettable Longines Symphonette set. That's so cool. On the Stack-O-Matic. That sounds great. I listened to my Bing Crosby Treasury, whatever, my favorite song, Treasury, from the Longines Symphonette on my stacker, my Technic stacker. Yeah. Interesting. The original Panchico album had disc rot. So were more certain titles more prone to it than others? That's interesting. CDs are portable. They're cheaper now. The fact that they're like $1 each, it's really nice. I love it. Because if I want a CD, especially the stuff I listen to, I go on eBay, it's going to be $1 with like $2 or $3 shipping. It's great. I love it. That's an interesting point you bring up, Old Radios. He says, I'm not picky about formats. If the album is on CD and I want it, I'm still going to buy it. For me, if I get it on record, if I get it on vinyl, I still want the CD. And I just put it away. But like the Patsy Cline Record Store Day release that I was lucky enough to get the vinyl version, I still wanted the CD. And certain albums I'm like that with. Not everything. With the Beatles, I don't have all of those doubled up. Most of them aren't. I've got about half of the albums on vinyl and about half the albums on disc, on a CD. And I'm okay with that. I don't need to. I wouldn't dislike getting my CD albums replicated here and vice versa, but I don't feel the need to have both. Same with cassettes as well. I love cassettes. I've been listening to cassettes this week too. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of mixtapes and things. My Beastie Boys mixtape. Grunge mix. I was thinking about buying some more grunge on vinyl, and I was like, I'm just not a big enough fan to justify the cost. I do have the Weezer Blue album, and there are probably 5 albums that I would want to get from that era, but it's like I like 1 or 2 songs here or there, and I only listen to those if I'm in a certain mood for it. It's not like I feel like I want to own those on vinyl yet, so yeah. Also got a good deal this Friday. Got a vintage 76 Elvis in Hollywood for free. Wow, that's great. And I think the cost is kind of one of the bigger things that's pushing people into CDs, especially right now. Matthew Broderick also in Glory. Yeah, that's a great one. The Life and Sad Ending. Welcome in. Sorry, I'm so behind on comments. Brett says, I'm thinking about getting a CD player and getting some CDs again. Might I introduce to you? Just because I have it handy right here. This is the Neo. I love this thing. It's really cool. All metal construction. Look at this. Talk about lazy. This is a newer CD. Jasmine. This is like probably public domain content. But could we not have tried a little harder on the label, people? It looks like a CDR I would make at home, which I finally stopped doing that. That's pressed, isn't it? Yeah, that's an actual pressed disc. I'm just like, come on. But anyway, the Theo, it's great. It's not perfect, but it's really good. Speaking of DACs, Theo Audio Circuitry, their DACs are incredible. Go on Amazon, preferably through my link that I had in the video where I reviewed this, and look it up because they've got incredible information about their audio circuitry, whether it's the DM, what is this one? This is a DM13. DM13 CD player, the the tape player or the MP3 player. I have all 3, or even the turntable. All of them feature incredible audio circuitry, and their DACs for their digital stuff are incredible. And they usually use dual DACs, which is a really cool thing. And this thing is very heavy. It's metal construction. The bottom is plastic, but the rest is aluminum. Clicky buttons on the volume. I don't like that. I like a roller knob. This doesn't have that. But this thing is cool. It can be used in desktop mode where it takes power from USB-C. It's also a rechargeable battery. I still don't get everybody's freaking out about that. Man, it is. If you have a rechargeable battery, God help you, because you're going to get annihilated in the comments. I personally have never thought of that as a bad thing. Like, I would much rather have a rechargeable battery that I can use at no additional cost than buying expensive alkaline batteries for the life of the equipment. And you may say, well, it's what happens when you burn it out? First of all the rechargeable stuff I've had over the last several years, I have one item where the battery failed, and it wasn't because it wore down, it just failed. It was that slot loading MPK record player I have, which I still have. The battery just fried. It just doesn't work. You have to connect it to USB-C. But besides that, even that battery is replaceable. These are all replaceable. Just pop the lid off. It's probably socketed. I know the FIO cassette player's battery socketed. So everybody that's like, what are you going to do when the battery dies? Go on Amazon, buy a $2 battery, spend 2 minutes popping the lid off of this in all likelihood, and replace the socketed battery. It just seemed like that. Oh, I couldn't believe the rechargeable battery ended it for me. I just don't get it. Anyway, this is a great sounding disc player. I love it. It looks like a CD-ROM drive. It looks like a data disc. I just got a delivery gift. So I showed it on the videos of these Sony CD players. All three of them are broken. These are the Sony 90s disc players, okay? To all you alkaline people out there. I can't get the batteries to work on all three of them. I should do a video about it. I'm coming to this realization in real time. Oh, yeah? You love your alkalines? But I'm just thinking about this in real time. That'd be funny. I love messing with people. It's really good for them. But so I'm like contact cleaner, trying to clean the contacts, a little bit of corrosion here and there. A friend of mine suggested some CLR on there and try to scrape off. See, I've never had that happen before. But if you put in the 4.5 volt power supply barrel connector, they work. 2 of the 3 work fine. One's just DOA. It's dead on arrival. But yeah, those 3 Sonys. I prized. It's right over there. It's such a beautiful thing. It is the Sony D131. I have that and I love it. It works perfectly. Absolutely. So if you are looking for a CD player, there's so many to choose from. I mean, modern ones, I love the Klim. Yes, I know it's milk spelled back. CD players for modern ones are great. They do cool things. There's one that you can record from the CD to SD card on the portable CD player. The FIO, love it. Yeah, just look at my CD player reviews. You'll find out what I think there. But if you're getting into CDs right now, it's a wonderful world. It's a wonderful, exciting time. I don't know. Like it was really exciting to me when I finally could afford to switch from tapes to CDs. I never thought I'd want to see a cassette again. Archaic, old way of doing things, the uncool analog way. It's funny how things have come full circle. And yeah, it was. I remember holding a compact disc case and feeling it was so premium. Sorry, acid reflux, kick it up. But CDs I only buy if it's something I know I will like. With vinyl, I will buy it even if I don't know. I used to do that too until I ran out of room. Mobile Fidelity had the digital thing. Brittany, welcome in. Yes, very glad for Tecmo doing better. Is it working good? Let's check that out. Try degaussing, demagnetizing the head. Sorry about that. To go grab a lozenge, or you'd have to hear me cough, and that's not fun. The degaussing is a good idea. I remember doing that to CRT monitors. I thought it was so fun. Yeah, he does have one. Mm-hmm. The pop metal. Yeah, I've heard about that. I haven't had any issues with it, but I've heard about the pop metal. That's cool, Kyle. I'll have to check that out. Well, I'm glad, Andreas. I'm so glad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, new Bluetooth is great. It's getting better and better. Now with lossless Bluetooth, there's zero room for complaint. Now, more equipment needs to get it. I don't see it on hardly anything yet, but I know it exists. Old enhanced CDs are cool. I've got some Star Trek ones that are enhanced with a little software on it. Those are cool. Yep. Those are so fun. Groovy Lisa, welcome in. Oh, you're right, Ralph, about the CDs. Yeah. You own it. You own digital content. You own it. And that's one of the few things where you own lossless digital audio. Yeah, CDs are cheap, Lisa. They're great. I agree. Vinyl Valhalla in the house. What, dude? What? My old stomping grounds. Bro, I'm so glad you're here. Our intro, our little trailer video was shot at Vinyl Valhalla back in Littleton, Colorado. I was just back there. December? Has it been that long? January? I'll be back. I need to stop by. Set aside the good stuff for me. Thank you for jumping on it. Sean says, never abandoned CD. Disc rot on DVDs. I've heard about that. Marcus has the Glenn Miller Lost recordings on double cassette. That's a great set. I've got one of the tapes from that set. Yeah, you're right, Lisa. Just $1, for these things. It's great. Great deal on those. CDRs have the disc rot. Never seen that either. Clay, I'm doing great, my friend. Better now that you're here. Thank you for joining us. We're just chatting. Yeah, didn't it look like a homemade disc? It looks like. Did you ever have that? I had this computer once that I think it was a Sony. It had a LightScribe drive. Did you ever see those? You would burn the disc, and then you would flip the disc over and put it back in the drive, and it would use the laser to etch artwork on the top of the disc. And you had to buy special LightScribe discs. How did I remember the name of that? It was amazing. I agree, Lisa. Those are awesome. Dude, Marcus, Volume 2 of the Chesterfield. I am for the Glenn Miller fans. Volume 2 of their set is coming out in July. They're going to unveil it at the. You can pre-order it now at the Glenn Miller Birthplace Society Festival, the yearly get-together in Clarinda, Iowa. I will not be there. I've never been there. I would love to go someday. I just haven't been there. Gary, how do I feel about MiniDisc players? How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? I can't have candy without chewing it. MiniDisc. I'm looking over here because that's where mine are. Somewhere down here. Where are they? Oh, yeah. I filed it down here. Here's some of them for visual aid. How do I feel about this format? Check this out. Diet Coke mix on Victor blank CDs. Victor brand blanks. Discs. Mini discs. I have a love-hate relationship with this format. I did not The only introduction I had to it in my real life before this show was in television and broadcast. Very rarely, I did a lot of musical filming of musicians and music video type of stuff. And sometimes when doing live performances, one or two times an artist came in with their backing tracks on MiniDisc. Besides that, I knew it was sort of like this higher end digital audio format. Never got into it. Could never afford to. I mean, just never could get into it. And yeah, I just never did. I thought it was probably cool. I didn't know anything about it. And when I started, this was before the channel started. I kind of got interested in them, and I picked up a couple of Sony portables and learned about the format, picked up some discs and things. That's where most of that stuff came from. That's about maybe almost a half of the total amount that I have. But then I traded those Sony disc players and for a rack mounted unit. I've got, well, not rack mounted, but a separate. I've got a Sony JE, what is this? JE310, JE510. And I really like the MiniDisc long play format, obviously because you can long play stuff. And for old time radio and the kind of music that I often listen to, it didn't matter that it was a higher compressed, lower quality thing. This deck didn't do that, unlike my little portables that I traded off. However, it was a pretty robust unit, or so I thought. Come to find out that it's got some kind of glitch. I've never been able to figure it out. When you're recording a disc, it plays fine usually, but when you're recording a disc, it corrupts about 3/4 of the way through. I've replaced the whole transport, all the optics, all the mechanicals, and I've tried everything. Still does it. Still does it. I've tried different discs. I've tried recording one solid recording at the 45-minute mark. Usually it just corrupts and starts making a million little recordings. I've tried making a bunch of little recordings, and it does it the same way. I think it's something in the logic, something in the board. I actually bought another unit. It's hard to find a good deal on them if you can even find them. I found a killer deal. Somebody sold me one on eBay for like $20 or less, $10, $15. And I made the mistake of telling the guy, I just need the transport, because I was sure my problem was the transport. I don't know. I'm sitting back here touching it. It's like you can see it. Anyway, I'm like, just send me the transport. He takes it apart and sends me the transport. Confident, 100%, I had a bad transport. I replaced the transport, and the problem is still there. So I should have had him send the whole thing, because I could have then tried to replace the logic board, or the main board. So that thing has let me down. Then I got a couple other portables. I'm on my third one now. They're Sharps, because those are the only cheaper ones. And my latest is actually not a Sharp. I've got a Sony again. I've got a Sony NetMD machine, but I don't have software that can drive it, I don't think. Anyway, they've just been intermittent. They break a lot. I think they're cool when they work. Anyway, it's been kind of a love-hate relationship. Shane, that's incredible, my friend. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. That's so cool. That's really, really cool. And you got the LP70X. Yes. Awesome. You know, now that they've fixed the problem that they were having, it's working fine. I still have mine. It's in storage. I had it out until I replaced it with this temporarily. I'll probably go back to that next. I don't know. But I'm really glad you've been enjoying tapes, and that's so cool. What's your best tape player? What's your grail tape player? For me, the Nakamichi Dragon. Oh, I would love to have one of those. I'll never have one of those. But I almost got a Nakamichi BX2. I passed on it. That's a story for a for another day. Story for another day. Yeah, feature pack DVDs. Remember the special features? One of the best special feature menus ever was the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea DVD from Disney. They had this virtual like museum. You could walk through different rooms. So you'd click on a menu option and it would take you into another room. It was so cool. I think I updated that to the mass. I don't think I did that as only a member update video. But yeah, I think all the new ones are fine. I had bought mine months before. They've been replacing them, not even repairing them. So if you have an issue, just there's actually a website that Audio Technica has set up. I think they still have it set up where it would say. That's cool, Clay. You have to let me know if you like them. That's cool. Yeah, auto mechanisms are the best. I love automatics. Both of these that I have set up here, actually all three of these are automatics. Can you believe fully automatic slot loading from the 40s? And they had that technology back in the 30s too. That's amazing. Marvin Gaye, that's some good music. That's really cool. Yeah, everybody stay hydrated. I drink like a camel. Don't worry about me. Oh, that's so cool, Shane. That's awesome, dude. That's great. That's so cool to hear about somebody getting into that. That's fun. I love my Yamaha. I have a KX390 as my main player my only player for playing them here. I've got the FIO CP13 is a great portable. The VR Rewind. Those are the only two. But yeah, I love because it's so fun. And you know what? I don't care about. I'm not a Dolby guy. I don't use the Dolby circuit. Usually when I'm making recordings, no Dolby. I don't mind a little hits. Who cares? It's like Crackle on records. That's what it's for. I mean, that's what it's for. But that's what comes with it. You know what I mean? It's part of the package. A little hiss never hurt anybody. Dolby makes it muddy, in my opinion. And I've had Dolby B, C, S, all three of them. I just don't like. I'm just not a huge Dolby guy. Now, if I have a tape that is super, it's like Dolby encoded and it's super bright, and it just sounds too bright with the Dolby off, then I'll leave it off. But if I'm making my own tapes, like the ones I was showing a little while ago, no Dolby on those. And it's fun because if you don't have the Dolby circuit on, it really comes down. This goes for reel-to-reel tape, for 8-track tape, any kind of tape. You really get to experience the different qualities and mixtures of tape formulations, and that's fun. You know what I mean? Like the noise properties and the sound dynamics of different units have different properties. It's kind of fun to listen to what one sounds like over the other. I think that's part of the charm. Do you really, RC Toombs, have the light scribe? It was cool, man. It was pretty cool stuff. Multi-track, yeah, that's cool. Love going to live concerts, but the stuff you could use to record, so it comes either way. Oops, way too expensive. Somebody said. MiniDisc is cool for recording. I agree. I've recorded some live audio on MiniDisc, and if you record an 8-track 3 just without like do the SP mode or whatever it's called, where it's not the LP mode. I really defy anybody. That's a really good for lossy compressions. 8-track is really efficient, really good. Maybe it's not efficient. It's really good. It's a really high quality sounding one. You know, you hear a low bit rate MP3 and you're like, yeah, that's MP3. If you listen to a MiniDisc recorded with good source audio, I don't think anybody could hear the difference between that and CD. That's my opinion. But yeah, Shane, for me, it was like this premium. It's like laser discs. Like I knew they were out there. I never knew anybody with a laser disc machine. When I was in film school, they had one. I never owned a mini disc. I have one now. They're in record bins half the time, especially antique malls, because people selling records at antique malls usually have no idea about records, and they don't know that laser discs aren't records. I picked up what just happened to me, one of my favorite movies of all time, Grumpy Your Old Man, on laser disc, just purely to display. Don't have a mini disc or a LP laser machine. Don't plan on getting one. I think it's intriguing that they're optical discs with analog video. Still don't know how I feel about that, but yeah, it's an interesting thing. I was kind of aware of it, But, yeah. The MiniDiscs, I was like, yeah, I know they're out there, but it was never on my radar. Way out of my price range at the time. Still expensive. MiniDisc is still expensive. Yeah, Andreas, it's true. It's big everywhere but here. And, we've had kind of an opposite thing with the 8-track, where 8-tracks were huge here, but in Europe, not as big. Fast Hunter says, I'm a bit curious what your folks' standpoint is in my current situation. Last month, I got my hi-fi system back from the repair guy. Sound module changed because one side was fault scratchy. So the only thing that would need to be fixed on it, also need to get the cassette deck serviced, new belts and heads, but he said it would be very expensive. Should I splurge or not? That's kind of what the guy that was, I was working with the guy, and I plan to promote him on I don't do a lot of promotions on this channel. Sponsor, I don't think we've ever done a sponsorship. We've done a couple, very isolated sponsorships. But this guy that was helping me out, this repair guy, I didn't send him the reel-to-reel, but he was giving me advice, and we're sending pictures back and forth. He was kind of the same way. He's like, you could fix this, but you're going to dump so much money into it, more than it's worth. And he's like, I don't know if it would be worth doing that. So it's kind of a hard choice, Fast Hunter, to make. Is it worth the investment on something that maybe something else would go wrong? You know what I mean? And it's really, really annoying. And really, it's a hard decision to make. It would depend on a lot of variables. Which system it is, how old it is. Are there any others out there available? Can you buy a new, different one at a better price than? Are you sure that's the problem? Is he going to incur more fees? Are you going to find more problems? Those are the kind of questions I ask myself. Marcus says, do you remember prior to DVDs, VCDs? Oh yeah. I've made VCDs. I used to, before DVDs, I had the ability to burn, because you could burn a VCD and a CD-ROM, and I would do that. I would shoot films and make them on VCDs. And yeah, you could buy commercial releases on VCDs. They weren't widely distributed, but I think you'd go places like Best Buy or other, like maybe Radio Shack, and there'd be like 2 or 3 titles there. It's intriguing. Low quality. I had a Three Stooges VCD of like Three Stooges shorts. Really low quality. I mean, it was like VGA quality. But yeah, I remember those. William. Took me a second. I'm like, what? Crunch 3. It takes 3 to get to the Tootsie Roll Center with Tootsie Pop. $1978 cassette decks. Old radios. Let me guess. They have paddle switches on them, I bet. When I was a kid, we didn't have a console stereo. My grandparents had those, but we had, which by the time they were handed to me when I was like 12 or 13, the most uncool system under the earth. It was like the Clarinet 101 or whatever from Radio Shack, or there was Sears versions of them where it was the brown plastic, looked like wood paneling with the dust cover on top, the tape player in the corner, or 8-track if you had a really old one, the big radio tuner, all in one unit with the little wood speakers that were really shallow. Yeah, I did a show about a clarinet, and people roasted me. Oh, you want to see me get annihilated in the comments? Go look at my Radio Shack clarinet video where we reviewed the clarinet system which is kind of weird name for that, but it was a record player combo tape player unit radio, and I was talking about why it wasn't worth working on. And people, you idiot! All you need to do is X, Y, and Z and fix it. I was funny because it's like usually people are telling me just throw that junk in the trash. It's not worth your time. But the one time I agree with them and say this is junk. I'm not going to work on. I'm throwing this away. They're like, why would you do that? It's a treasure. Nobody ever thought the Clarinet 102 from Radio Shack was a treasure. Come on. But my stereo system in our house when I was a kid that sat on top of the chrome-handled wood paneling metal TV tray turned into a entertainment center because it had my Nintendo, my brother and I shared, and underneath it had the Sears inevitably branded stereo system. That was it. I never wanted to listen to anything on there. I never did listen to anything on there. It never got used that I can remember, but that was the system that was in the house. And then Grandma and Grandpa had the cool BSR type changers in their big console units. MiniDisc use a lower resolution than CD DAT, and also the digital formats uses. You can get great fidelity, Sean, from a MiniDisc if you use A-Track. It's actually really good sounding, even though it is lossy. Whereas the compression on a compact disc is not lossy, it's lossless. But you'd be surprised. They actually sound really good. Technic 631. I want to look this one up, Shane. I bet I know exactly what it looks like, though. Yeah, not too bad. I love these. Do you have one with the wood, the silver finish all the way around? I like the front silver panel. That's cool. But my Iowa CX NA 555 is my favorite. Okay, let's look this one up. No way. This is like a shelf system from the 90s. I had, in fact, my son still has it. Either this or the next version. I think this was the one. The state sale finding this is around 1999. Yeah, that would have been it. That is so cool, Shane. So yeah, that was my system. So when I finally really got serious about audio in the 90s, and I had my Sony portable little CD player, CD 555 or whatever, CDP 55 boombox. I did about that. I went to Sears. I think it was Sears at Lakeside Mall. May you rest in peace, Lakeside Mall. And I bought a floor model JVC shelf system. It was 80 watts per channel. It sounded fantastic. Parents still have that one too. But it had the tray loading CD player, and I didn't think that was cool. I wanted one with the carousel. So I found I think it was one of these stores that doesn't exist anymore. And I bought this Iowa, which is pretty much the one you have. I think it's that same one with the tray on top, and it's got the colored LEDs in there. Man, and I didn't want to listen to much tape. I did have some tapes, not much, but I love that CD player, man. That was my unit, and those speakers are phenomenal, aren't they? And it had the MiniDisc hookup. Sony was hoping everybody was going to still be using MiniDisc. I used that line input for like movies. Hook up your VCR, Blu-ray, or DVD player at the time to that, and home theater. It was amazing. It was crazy, dude. That's an incredible sounding. People don't realize how good of a system that is. That is an incredible one. Now mine must have been either 1 or 2 steps earlier than yours or something. Mine was like probably 96. So it was a little different. My speakers didn't have the big port on the bottom. They had a big driver on the bottom, and then they were 3-way. They had a 3-way driver. So, oh man, which one did I have? I'm really curious now. Yeah, this looks more like it. CXNA222. Oh wait, this is it. CXNA707. That's the one I had. So I had the grills were removable. It was like 80 watts a channel. It was incredible. And so funny story about 5 years ago on this channel. Our son, I gave him that system. Now I think the speakers are holding up something in his house. But anyway, I gave him that system, and he was kind of had it in his room because he was living with us at the time, but he wasn't using it. And I had this great idea. I'm like, you know what? What if I got rid of all these separates? This was during Record-ology. It's like 2018, 2019. You'll see this brief. There was a story arc on the show, and I took almost all of my separates and I donated them. I had this genius idea. I'd have one record player and I would have the shelf system. I got to thinking about how wonderful it sounded. The speakers were incredible. I loved the lights on it. It was compact. It was space saving. I thought this would be perfect. And I went through this phase of I was going to use that as my main system again because I had such fond memories. But the tape player, ironically, because that's what you like of it the most, the tape player was shot. Something was wrong. So I thought maybe a belt. And I got in that thing, and I couldn't believe both decks were running off of one motor. There's one motor running both of those decks. And they were good decks. I loved how thick the doors were, too, when they come out. But that's funny. That's cool. I'm glad you're using it, man. I'm glad it's working for you. I did know that, Kyle. Yeah, the Philips Norelco. My oldest cassette player is a 1968 made by Sanyo. Sears. That's coming up a lot on this show today. Tape cartridge player. It precedes the word cassette. It is a tape cartridge player, and it still works flawlessly. It is a wonderful shoebox unit from 1968. But I don't have any of the ones that go back to 63. It wasn't really used for audio, for music until the early 70s. Before that, it was dictation only. My holy grail of boomboxes would be to find a vintage AM/FM stereo cassette CD boombox from the mid to late 80s, early 90s in good working condition. And if it has Dolby, I would want to have it. So, Clay, I want you to take note, okay? This is what I had, and I found it again. I bought it on eBay or Craigslist. Sony. Let me get this right before I say. Okay, is this right? Okay, yes. Sony CFD-55. Hey, there's my video. See, I love it when I search for stuff and I find my own content. Sony CFD-55. It's great. It's built like a tank. It's a boombox, but it sounds great. It's Sony. It's like Sony Prime. Like it's 1991 Sony. It's excellent. And it's got it doesn't have Dolby. It doesn't have, Sony wasn't putting Dolby even on all their not even all their portables had Dolby. But again, I'm not a Dolby guy. I didn't care. It's got a tone control, volume control. It's got a top loading CD player with a clamshell. It's not a spindle snap-on like everything is these days. It's an actual clamshell where the clamshell would come down on top of it. So it's got the 1-bit DAC. It's great. You can record from disc to tape. It's got a headphone jack. It's got, let's see, what else? AM/FM radio, and it's super rugged, and it's just cool looking. I highly recommend it. It's so cool. I got it again. I was like, this is so many good memories. That was my system. Before I bought that Iowa we were talking about, I had that thing. So check that out. You might really like that. I had an Iowa portable Walkman style cassette recorder. That's so cool. I never had any Walkman types that could record. I had very little that could even rewind. Usually I had the one direction only, like my Sharp, sitting right up there. My Sharp little one-way Walkman where you had fast forward, flip the tape over, fast forward to rewind it, kind of a deal. I have never used the We Are Rewind or FIO models, but I did look into that instead. Bought a Walkman. Hey, if you can get a working vintage one, then that's the best way to go. But the naysayers about We Are Rewind and FIO are just wrong. They're just wrong. They will say it's a Tanishin type of mechanism. Do not, and Shane, I'm going to talk to you for a minute, my friend, because you're into this stuff, and I want you to know what I've learned. This, again, all my opinion. I'm completely wrong to so many people, but there's nothing new with that. But in my heart of heart, truth, this is what I believe. This is my experience, having had the advantage of tested hundreds, if not thousands of them. Tanishin clones, which are what are being made today, the mechanism, the design isn't bad. It's all about the implementation, okay? So if you get like a Urban Outfitters clear plastic cassette player, it'll suck. And it's because they use plastic parts for that Tanishan transport. But the We Are Rewind and the FIO that also use that basic Tanishan design are using stamped metal parts, which makes a big difference. Now, even just using stamped metal parts doesn't inherently make it better, but they also use a really good head. So companies are using different heads. A lot of them use mono heads. So if you want stereo, you listen to cassette, you want stereo, then a lot of the super cheap units don't even have a stereo head, or they have a really low quality head. The We Are Rewind and the FIO, they actually use the same head. It's a fantastic head. Next, this is the biggest thing, okay? This is the biggest reason why most modern cassette players suck. And it's not even the Tanishan mechanism. It's not as much the plastic stamped parts versus the metal stamped parts. That's going to lead to wear and all that stuff. The biggest thing is the flywheel. The number one thing that makes a tape sound good or not, aside from the head, is the stability, the wow and flutter, the speed consistency. And that is maintained through mass inertia, and a cheap plastic flywheel, which a lot of units use, isn't going to cut it. The We Are Rewind and the FIO use like copper flywheels. They're really heavy and they are really good. And people will tell you, oh, but look at the specs. Look at how it tests out compared to other ones. It will spec out lower than working perfect vintage units, but much better than crappy modern units. That's why I say those are the two acceptable ones now. They sound great. They sound wonderful. And the amplifiers are really good. The FIO especially has a great built-in headphone amplifier, really good analog volume knob on it. The We Are Rewind is not shabby at all. Now, the We Are Rewind has a little Bluetooth transmitter in there, but I'm telling you, if I had to pick between the two, I don't need the Bluetooth out. And I like the slightly smaller form function of the FIO. So get the FIO if you can afford to get one of those. And I sincerely doubt you would be anything but flabbergasted that that's fantastic. Plus, it's brand new. There's no capacitor issues. There's nothing negative. I mean, it's just great. No Dolby, none of that. But it's great. I love it. All right, that's my rant. I hope you can hear one someday because they really do sound good. Is it true that Iowa and Sony were the same company? So, yes and no. Iowa and Sony have always been very closely associated. However, I think Iowa, and at one point they were owned by they were the same organization, but Iowa spun off and Sony had like a majority stake in it at some point, and then finally Iowa went its separate way. The Iowa that's popping up now is totally unrelated to Sony. However, I was looking into it and they're Japanese engineered. So I want to get my hands on some of the new Iowa boombox. But yes, they essentially during the era of your unit and my unit, that late 90s unit, that's Sony. So really good stuff. Vintage Iowa is fantastic. I've got a really old, like pre-Sony vintage Iowa reel-to-reel, little mini one. Yeah, sports Walkmans, man, that's the way to go. I always wanted one of those. I never had one. That's really cool, man. If you can work on that stuff, even better. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, really, really cool. Clay, has anybody had any DCC experience? I have not. I know of them. Again, I've seen them in broadcast, but I have no experience with them. Hey, Music Junkie, you made it, my friend. You made it. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, that's cool, dude. Off the Wall. That's a great album. Briscoe Gaming, welcome in. Can you tell me where to put the decompression fluid on the LP3? Dropping. Okay, so the dampening fluid. So what you need to do Holy cow, I'm behind again on the comments. I'm so sorry, guys. Jeez, I'm way behind. I need to get caught up. Holy cow, I'm really far behind. I'm so sorry, you guys. Wow. Dude. I am so far behind. Okay, I'm doing nothing but I'm doing a comment flyby. Can you tell me where to put the... So put the fluid in the shaft where the piston is. You can unscrew that little piston and drop the fluid down in there. I did a video on it. Anyone ever heard DVD audio? Yep, I'm aware of it. I've never gotten into it, but I know a lot of people do. Are you going to do any giveaways? Not on today's video. Well, we've done them before. We'll do them again. Did I ever get a Kraftwerk record? I don't know if I have. I don't think so. I have a relatively low-end filled stereo boombox thing. Absolutely, man. Just because other people, it doesn't matter what other people think. If it's a treasure to you, it's a treasure to you. That's how I feel about that little sharp Walkman thing, even though it's the low end of the low end, and now it's really old. To me, it's a treasure because I associate the memories, the wonderful memories with it. Okay, wood on the sides. That's like my 8-track player. What's the difference between lossy and lossless? Never looked it up. So look up my video on the topic, nerds reselling. But essentially, with lossy, they take out little bits of the audio spectrum that you either can't hear, supposedly, or are repetitious, and they use the missing info that they take out, either sounds above or below the human range of hearing, sounds that are covered up by other loud sounds, repetitive sounds. They only use one of them and then repeat it, and they compress it into a smaller file, so it's easier to stream, easier to save off. Like MP3s are lossy. But now that everybody has got these incredible data connections, there wasn't as much of a need to make the audio file so small. So now a lot more lossless is happening. So lossless digital is where it's been digitized into a bit stream, but it retains all of the information from the analog signal. So lossless is the highest quality of digital. So, but there's different tiers of lossless too. There's different variables within lossless. But CDs are lossless. Lossless streaming is lossless. DSD, things like that. FLAC, ALAC, a lot of lossless audio formats. Now there's lossless streaming. That's really cool, Fast Hunter. That's awesome. Marcus says, in your video showing a Glenn Miller tape on an early video, you showed it on a Pioneer dual tape deck. I have the exact same tape deck without the headphone jack. That's cool. Yeah, that was my, I bought that thing early days on the channel, used the heck out of it. It's really pretty dang good. I don't think I mean, I probably could have stretched it even longer, but then I found this Yamaha here, and the Yamaha is just it's so good, dude. It's so good. What are your thoughts on Lord Huron? I do not know about Lord Huron. CTW403R. Sorry I'm so delayed on the comments, guys. Oh, yeah. Yeah, mine was a 403 something as well, but you're right, the headphone jack. That's the only difference. This is 96. Pioneer was a brand that I always knew was, to me, that was like a high-end brand. So when I saw that, I was excited. I paid $10 at a garage sale. Brazilian-made Gradiente DD200Q. Okay. I love the show and tell. Wow. I've seen this before. I love the strobe markings, the chunky. I think those are strobe markings, right? Direct drive. That thing is cool. That's really cool. I like the looks of that a lot. I just got a head shell like that too recently. I need to work on it. Doesn't have any wires. Doesn't have uh, any cartridge wires. Need to work on it. Dude, that eye was sick. I love it. That's a great unit, dude. And what only thing that went wrong on mine was the belts on the tape deck. That thing's a wonderwork of engineering. How they make all that stuff happen with one motor. It's crazy. 89 era Walkman Sport cassette player. I bet that thing's still going. Bellomatic. I've got that too, old radios, but mine is, man, it needs a total overhaul. It hums like nuts. The record oscillator is busted. It's barely, it's rough. It's really rough. And it's a mono unit. I got a stereo unit, but I traded it. I kind of sort of regret doing that. Although it needed an overhaul too, right? I have a bunch of those tapes too. Oh, did you really see the LL Cool J, the JVC? What was that thing called? That's what the M90, the JVC M90 fan. I got the little mini ones, the mini ones that they put out. Those are great, great radio Bluetooth speakers. By the way, they sound great. That's cool. Those things are worth hundreds. Okay, gotta look this one up. A Philips AZ2765. By the way, you'll notice I called this thing a Mother's Day show. To all of the mothers, and if your mother is around, be thankful. That's a blessing. So I am very blessed to have my mother, and I will be calling her tomorrow. And if you have the opportunity to do so as well, I would encourage you. That's a cool system, man. I dig it. That's really cool. I love those boom boxes that were shelf systems like that with the speakers that could separate, but also they had a handle. So you could use it as a take-along boombox or as a shelf system. That's really cool. And I bet those speakers kind of hook onto the center unit. That's cool. Philips is a fun brand. I like Philips. Oh, that's at 3 years old? Yeah. What's a 3-year-old going to do with that? Here you go, little Shane. Good luck with that one. I would never get something of that quality at that age. Old Tascam cassette decks. Yeah, those are rugged. Joseph picked up a FIO cassette player. It sounds really nice. Bit heavy. Also feels very solid. See, I think anybody that listens to the FIO will pretty much like it. Steve says, end of a long day. 12-mile run this morning. Steve, congratulations, man. Star Wars night at the baseball game. The Rockies did that not too long ago. That's cool. That's really cool. What new records have you bought lately besides Dare Bingle? So like I said, I picked up, I think, four or five records the other day. I ordered them online, and I'm trying to remember what they were. I got the soundtrack to The Great Escape, the Dare Bingle one. I got another Dare Bingle reading. It's like a kid's record narration. And what was the other thing I got? I can't remember. Oh, it was Irish music. It was Irish folk music. Very eclectic, I know. I did find a Sony. Yeah, they need servicing, Steve. That's for sure. Dampening. Yes, that is the word, my friend. Hopefully, you get it working. Sound Deluxe. You didn't have the My First Sony, Kyle? Remember that? I didn't have one. Or the Fisher Price brown little thing. Like, look, kids, it's all brown. What was my first tape player? I always, and I was thankful to have it. Again, back to what, you treasure what you were thankful. If you were in the mindset of being thankful, which I was, yeah, it would be like what they could afford, like something they bought at the grocery store, some no-name, cheap thing. The Sharp was a name brand, but it was a very entry-level unit. I was so grateful for that. Absolutely. Eating tapes, no fun. I used to listen to the radio probably more than I listened to tapes on those things too. That's the thing about the We Are Rewind and the VO is there's no radio on them, so that's kind of a bummer. I have the best words. I don't know about that. Black Files, yes, those are good. Fast Center, thanks for being here, man. Get some good sleep. Yes, that colorful Fisher Price one. Yes, I remember that. Yep. And that's a mother for you. Yes. Yes. Ray, those were interesting. The Fisher Price, yeah. I don't know who made them for Fisher Price. I looked up, by the way, Fisher Price record players. We did a non-kid, like an adult Fisher, maybe a teenager, but non-small child Fisher Price record player sound system a year or so ago. They were really, really rugged. And the Fisher Price record players, not the toy one, but the actual ones, they were really rugged. I've got 3 of them: the Sesame Street one, the 1977 one, and then this early 80s component system by Fisher Price. They're surprisingly rugged. They really are. And I was looking it up recently. According to AI, ChatGPT says they actually designed and made their own, which surprised me. They're really solid. Phineas and Ferb record set. Okay, I'm going to have to get that. That's sick. Oh, that's painful. Brand new. Stick it in there. That's the thing with tapes. Will it come out? Will this be the last time I hear this tape? This is the thing that was great about CDs. There's nothing was touching the CD. You know what I mean? It was if it got scratched, it was on you. You know what I mean? Nothing was dragging across the surface of that. Beverly Hills, awesome. Beverly Hills Cops, yep. Oh yeah, I used to do that too. I used to sit there. I inherited this little Sanyo boombox from my mom. It was really long. It had dual decks and then like dual speakers, 3D sound. It said, and I would sit there listening to the pop rap station for hours, waiting for my song to come out. I'd call in, make a request, realize it's going to be 90 minutes before they would play it, if they played it, all to try and get, just looping a blank tape over and over, one of those clown tapes, until I could finally catch it. And then I'd have this tape full of garbage and one version of my song. Now, we had 2 pop rap stations in Denver back in the day. And I'm talking like this is like late 80s, early 90s era. One of the stations, I remember there was a babysitter that came over to babysit me and my siblings. And I was pretty young. And I remember I was asked, she was changing the radio to the pop rap station. And she was listening to a certain one. I'm like, why are you so set on listening to this station instead of the other one? Because they kind of have the same format. And she told me, and I never noticed it. I was a kid. I didn't notice anything. She said that the one station played the songs completely and didn't talk over the intro. But the other station would talk. They knew they had a counter. They actually had a way to know when the vocals would kick in, and they would talk till the very moment the artist started singing. And you would miss out on the intro and outro of the song, which is, I never thought of it until then. But yeah, those were good days. Recording off the radio. Yeah, good times, man. Are you gonna get that Music Junkie? That's cool. Les Paul, that's awesome. Oh, that's so cool, dude. Mickey Mouse Club record player with the Mickey arm, tone arm. I've almost picked those up. Those go for like 50 to 75 bucks. Howdy Doody, yep. I have some Howdy Doody DVDs. It's bizarre to me. It's bizarre television. Are there cassette tapes that are worth money? Probably. Probably. I'm sure there are. I don't have anything. I'll have to check that out. My friends, we've gone over an hour and a half. It's been fun. I have things I have to get done before I can go to sleep, and I'm very exhausted. I've got a big day tomorrow. And I hope that, again, you're able to be thankful for her. It'll mean the world to her. She needs to hear that. That's interesting about making copies. A play copy and then a save. I know people do that with records too. Anyway, we got some content coming your way. We've got records showing up in the mail, record player showing up in the mail this week. Got a lot of things on deck. Probably have 20 shows queued up for you that are in some form of production or pre-production. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you. But that's going to do it for tonight. God bless you guys. I appreciate you being there. Think about joining us program. You can see your name in electric lights. That's a big deal. Mostly, I'm just grateful that you're here. Thank you very much. Have a great night, guys. Take care.